But in general, I think in Taiwan, even though there's so much interesting urban spaces, and there's interest in renewal, often the incubators or the cultural spaces look a bit like corridors. I mean, I think the tobacco factory is great, but the corridors are always empty. This is an incubator here. I'm not saying where it is in Taipei because I do not want to embarrass the person, but this is a completely different atmosphere. This is the cultural ministry. But do you see what I'm saying? If we contrast these atmospheres with the atmospheres I'm showing you earlier, you can see that it's a completely different feeling that one is trying to create. So if you just look at this picture, and then we look at these other pictures that I'm just going to show you. So I believe that when we talk about a creative milieu, it's an environment where people would like to meet, where they can meet, where they can interact. So in this particular incubator, there are lots of interesting companies and initiatives, but there's nowhere where they can exchange ideas and do things together. So I think that's a problem. But I think at the same time, the cultural ministry here in Taipei and in Kaohsiung and in Tainan and elsewhere has major opportunities. Like this is the railway depot, which this is going to be saved, again, for a museum. Now the question is it going to be a 21st century museum or not? Here, the beer factory, what is it going to turn into? Is it going to be interesting? Now, 2 days ago, we were told that everything is too expensive in Taipei and there's no space, there's no opportunities. So our colleagues here in the front row and I, we spent 20 minutes walking in a circle of 200 meters, and we discovered this building completely empty, Taiwan Road, okay? How about having a transitional use for 3 years, because it looks, could be used, yeah? Next door to it, I love it, the Audit Bureau, the bureau that gives you so much hard time to say, are you using your resources effectively? That office that says, are you using your resources effectively, has an empty building, which has been empty for years. So perhaps the Audit Bureau could kindly offer this very nice building for some interesting people for the next 4 years. Then here, round the corner, 90 meters away, some old housing of, I think, Japanese military officers. Here another building across the road empty. Here another whole set of 200 meters worth of buildings empty. Here another thing empty, yeah? So this is just in the next 250 meters, there's so much empty. We gave up because it started raining. God was crying. Yeah? God was crying, so we gave up. We were then going to walk down Barda Street to continue our exploration, and we estimate that there are 50 buildings between here and the tobacco factory. So there's empty spaces for all these potential, I don't know what, incubators for young creative talent, who all are crying out. There are lists of people crying out who want space, yeah? And it's everywhere. Now, can you imagine the connection between Huashan, the electronics area, the university, the next area? I'm just using this as an example, the same as I could say in Kaohsiung or in any other Taiwanese city. So this is all, I'm asking myself, what's the problem? And we think the remedy, the ingredients, is firstly a strategy which understands together that the talent issue is important. So it's the cultural departments connecting with education, connecting with economics, connecting with physical planning, point one. Point two, understanding how a creative milieu works. You don't put long corridors that look boring and you can't have a cup of tea. Grasping the dynamics of the creative economy, understanding that it's not necessarily just these silo sectors. You have 6 sectors. However, lots of what's happening in the creative economy doesn't fit in your sectors, and it's the most vibrant. So what you should be looking at is the creative economy as distinct from just 6. Now, I have to say, when we looked at the policy of the Cultural Ministry, we felt all the policies were very good in general. In general, they were good. However, there was a gap between the policy and what we saw being implemented, like numbers of loan guarantees given, numbers of various results. So we have to be positive about that. The 4th ingredient is relating to the property development world. Not only in your own departments, other departments who own this, like the audit department, but also the property development world. Because some people in that world are very sympathetic to what you want to do. The 5th thing is what we're calling the connection strategy. This idea of saying we must connect beyond our silo. Patrick said this right at the beginning. The minister said it over lunch earlier, that the connections, breaking down the divisions between departments is key. And of course the work you do, Patrick, which is the internationalisation strategy. And if that happens, we would be talking about a more creative bureaucracy. I'll give you an example. This is VVG, yeah? Which is 100 metres over there. Okay, because you have policies which says commercial, or cultural, you do not know where to put this in, yeah? Because this mixes cultural and commerce in the same thing. But because you've got a box called culture, art, and another box called commerce, you don't really know, this is what people tell me, how to respond to this particular initiative. So our big suggestion is the one we're calling bridging the gap. Bridging the gap, which is dealing, this is the message, our main message, bridging the gap. Thinking at the edge of what you do, understanding what other departments are doing. We've had so many experiences in the last year where when we look at it from the view of a bird, we see the solution, but the 2 elements are not talking to each other, which is we're calling the 1 + 1 = 3 strategy. So often the part of the solution is somewhere and it's all there together, but the together doesn't seem to be happening. So we're calling this the mingling strategy. Mingling is a nice English word which means mingle, connect, work together, be together, have a good time together. So the mingling strategy between culture and the economy, the mingling strategy between culture and urban planning, the mingling, I like the word mingling, can you hear? Mingling. The mingling strategy between culture and technology. Understanding the connections between that. The mingling strategy between culture and the wider industry, as I discussed earlier. The mingling between the money people and the new players. The mingling between national and local government. And the mingling between experienced mentors who we've met many who want to help these other people, but there's no context for them to work together. All of these things. Somewhere in this is an answer, but it cannot be dealt with in the old approach. So it very much feels, at times, and I hope you realise I've been very positive about Taiwan, Patrick, I hope you realise I am being positive, but there is this issue of bringing the crossovers together, the insights together into one picture. And even if you don't particularly like each other, at least collaborate in some form or other. And that is essentially the final message. And simplify the procedures, which means at occasion reviewing, this is an interesting Russian piece of artwork, reviewing the incentives and regulations regime. And I looked at some of the desks of my friendly colleagues, yes, working, and I just felt so sorry for them, yeah? Because there are so many rules which perhaps shouldn't really exist. I mean, Just amazing what I saw, yeah? Because these are all people who are fresh, yeah? They're fresh. But somehow the weight of this paper, because there are too many rules, that are there. So you get the idea. The policy is there. The question is it easy to turn it into reality? And this is what we are calling the creativity platform. So for us, this creative city transformation, which has culture at the heart, this cultural understanding at the heart of it, is really about conversation. It's not about money. It's less about money. The conversation generates the money. So each party can bring something, and, you know, one way of saying it is holistic thinking. But it, of course, requires some element of trust, and that takes time to develop. So I'm sorry I haven't given a simple answer, except for the mingling strategy. But it does require us to sort of look ahead at the dangers and challenges, and there we are. In our country, owls are very wise, and we saw this woman there just driving around. So that's what I think. So, Professor Wong, thank you very much for allowing us to be in your space, and let's make great art together, because essentially what I've been saying is the city is a work of art, but it's more than that. It's a living work of art, and it's this artistic approach to city making I'm trying to project. Thank you very much.